Welcome, everyone, to the number one DeFi podcast. My name is John, and in today's live stream, we're going to be going over some quick market updates. As I usually like to go ahead and start, I like to start off with crypto bubbles. Looking at the monthly, as we see all across the board, lots and lots of green. Virtual up 200%, Pengu up 190, Bonk 69. As you see all across the board, we at least see a minimum of over 20% all across the board right now. Say also doing very well with a 38% on the monthly. So this is actually the most bullish crypto has been since, what was it, January, December? Looking at the weekly, we do see a little bit of red. Keep in mind that this week is the Fed meeting, FOMC meeting. Welcome in, Happy. Thank you. Hope you're having a good one, as always. Back to what I was saying. So yeah, Fed meeting is this week, so just keep that in mind. It's actually tomorrow. So we're going to go ahead and see what's going to be under the table. But what everyone is saying, pretty much market has already priced in the FOMC meeting. The biggest thing when it comes during these situations of the Fed meeting is that positive things or negative things could actually be said, right? Of course, which could really, really impact the market. So usually when it comes to FOMC meetings or leading onto FOMC meetings, I usually don't like to do any kind of aggressive moves. So of course, not financial advice, but I would recommend for the moment, don't do anything too aggressive in the market. If you are in any kind of volatile liquidity pools, I don't know, maybe consider staying on the sidelines, like I mentioned. Of course, none of this is financial advice, but usually during Fed meetings is the very, very volatile time. It could go in your favor, it could go against you, but usually for the most part, it is a very, very volatile time. So I personally would recommend if you're into any liquidity pools that are very, very volatile, specifically meme coins, any kind of liquidity pools on Solana, I would just keep my eyes on them. Or most specifically, I would consider exiting as long as you're not in permanent loss, right? As long as you won't have impermanent loss, I would consider getting out of my liquidity pool for that case due to volatility. But looking at the daily, we do see a little bit more neutral all across the board, nothing too crazy. Today is Tuesday. So everyone's really waiting to see what's going to happen tomorrow. A lot of things happening today. Apparently, India went ahead and attacked Pakistan. They went ahead and launched a missile. So we'll see how the market reacts tomorrow to that, or if there's any kind of reaction. But as you see right here on the hourly, a little bit more neutral. Pengu up 4%. That's what really stands out to me for them, which I don't know what that is. But there is quite a few news to go ahead and talk about. Nothing too crazy, in my opinion. The one thing I want to go ahead and start off with is gold. So gold prices surge ahead of the Federal Reserve meeting, which is tomorrow. I was actually looking at how gold has been performing, and gold since the beginning of the year is already up over 35%. So that's almost 40%. And it looks like gold is really trying to reattempt this breakout on this around this $3,400-$3,500 range, I believe. This is it right here. Yeah, around 35. So usually when gold is trending up, it usually is an indicator that investors are not willing to take on too much risk, and they're actually in a risk-off position. So they're actually shifting their funds over onto something a little bit safer as opposed to cryptocurrencies, right? Let me just fix my camera a bit here. Looks a little slanted. I think it's a little better. But yeah, that is something I would recommend all of you keep in mind. Gold right now. Hey, Teresa, good to see you as always. Welcome in. Appreciate you for being here. But yeah, gold right now is something I would keep my eyes on very closely. We're going to go ahead and see if gold continues to rise up and continue to break its resistance and continue a new price discovery. So we're actually not that far away from reaching that. We're going to go ahead and see how gold reacts tomorrow. Of course, what we ideally want, as I mentioned in the past, we really want gold to fall. Once gold starts to fall, it starts to give us a sign that people are pivoting from safe assets to riskier assets, right? So we definitely do not want to be seeing gold going up. And as you see, we actually had a pretty good green day today in gold, going from $3,300 to almost closing at around 34, or what is it? 3444. Lucky number, 3444. So yeah, 3,400 on gold. We'll see how tomorrow goes. We'll see if it's able to continue this upside. As I mentioned, we're not too far out. So just keep your eyes glued on gold. That is one of my biggest concerns right now at the moment. But yeah, this is one of the biggest things. There is a few things I do want to go ahead and talk about. So for all of those that have been holding on to Ethereum, I always get the question, John, should I continue to hold on to Ethereum? Maybe I should cut my losses. My biggest thing when it comes to cryptocurrencies and cutting losses, especially in the time of the market where we're in right now, most of the tokens have already retraced quite a bit, right? So some of you might be at break even, slightly in profit. Right now, we are seeing reversals in the market, right? So of course, not financial advice, but I would consider, if you want to go ahead and start exiting the market now, because it looks like we could be technically hitting a bottom. Right here, analysts are saying that Ethereum is signaling a bullish crossover signal, which is a technical level that shows strength in ETH. So they're saying that there could be a potential upside with Ethereum in 2025. So I've been saying this these last couple of weeks. I have been noticing that Ethereum has been picking up in strength. So keep your eyes out on Ethereum. As we talked about Artemis these last couple of weeks, I've told you that we've been seeing massive inflows with Ethereum in the last 3 months, right? Ethereum has been the dominator here still. A lot of institutional interest. I know a lot of people complain about gas fees with Ethereum, but Ethereum kind of caters more to institutions and that kind of sort of thing. The bigger money. So they're not too concerned too much on the gas fees. But even then, gas fees have been really inexpensive for ETH. I transact with ETH every couple times a week, and I have no problem transacting with ETH. Some of their transactions are as low as like 50 cents, 10 cents when it comes to moving money. So that's actually something I've never seen before with Ethereum. So Ethereum has definitely been very low in gas fees. We have been seeing a lot of inflows in the last 3 months. Of course, Arbitrum being number 2. That could be due to the fact of Hyperliquid that is running on Arbitrum. We have Base as number 3. Barrett Chain has also been picking up. And then 4th is Sonic Chain. And then 5th is Solana. I mean, who would have ever thought that Solana would have been like the 5th when it came to total inflows in the last 3 months? I would have never imagined that. But I think this is one of the main reasons why I believe we're entering what seems to be some sort of ETH season. So things are looking very positive, a lot more positive than they were these last couple months. I feel like these last couple months, there was a little bit more negative than positive, to go ahead and say, about the market, which is, obviously one of the things I would prefer not to talk about. Of course, I would prefer to talk about how positive things look in the market, but we also have to be realistic, right? So that's one of the biggest things, and one of the main reasons why I go over a lot of these articles. And also we go over technical analysis and actual data to see what is going on in the markets, right? Not just assuming. So for all those people that are saying Ethereum is dead, I mean, it's clear that it's not. I mean, it has the most inflows in the last 3 months. So it's not really much to say about Ethereum, right? Like, I strongly believe in Ethereum. I believe in the whole entire layer 2s, and I do think that Ethereum will be having a very strong comeback very soon. So just keep your eyes on Ethereum, or even just layer 2s. Now, there has been a whole entire phase, debate, whatever you want to call it, going on right now, all over the news regarding Trump's meme coin and what Trump has been doing in the crypto space. There's this article that I came across that I found pretty interesting, that I was like, you know what, let's go ahead and share it. Well, 58 crypto wallets have made millions on the Trump's meme coin, but 764,000 have lost money. That's what data shows. I don't know exactly where they're getting their data. It actually says right here. So their analytics firm, Chain Analysis. So that's who went ahead and shared the data. I wonder if we could actually see it here directly. Nope. But yeah, Chain Analysis is a platform where people could go ahead and see where wallets are going, money being transferred. It's mostly a software used to track funds. So I mean, if Chain Analysis said so, there's high probability that there probably is 764. Who knows? You know how news usually try to amp things up, but I mean, I've been saying this since the beginning, and it's not just Trump's meme coin. It's just meme coins in general. There's always going to be a case where people lose more money than make money on meme coins. That's just the reality of them, right? There's a lot of tokens that I can name that have literally probably done the same thing. Like very few people make money on meme coins, and that is a reality, right? And who knows? But anyways, the second thing that has also been going all over the news. So Donald Trump is actually hosting a 1.5 million per person fundraiser to go ahead and have dinner with him. I know he talked a little bit about this with his meme coin a few weeks ago. If you were a top holder of his meme coin, you would go ahead and have dinner. Looks like now this is a new thing he's offering to as well. Pretty interesting. I don't know where the money is going to be going to, but yeah, now that is raising a lot of concerns all over all over with the Senate and things like that. So just keep your eyes glued on that as well. Of course, Trump wants the Fed rate cuts to happen. So do we, right? Fed rate cuts happen. We're going to be happy because markets are going to go up. Now, keep in mind that usually when rate cuts happen, it's usually not a good sign long term, right? It means that the economy is struggling and our only solution is cutting rates, which is typically not a good sign, right? So even though we're cheering for rate cuts and we need rate cuts for our investments to go up, and keep in mind these investments is like real estate, cryptocurrencies, the stock market, digital art, collectibles, things like that. Usually the investors win, but after rate cuts happen, is usually not a good sign, usually signaling that we could be entering a recession or we are in a recession, right? What do you guys think down below? Do you think we are in a recession? Yes or no? Now, Mara, this is one of the stocks that I've been a pretty big believer in. I've actually held Mara, and I was trading Mara last bull cycle. I was actually trading some options, and their premiums were really, really nice. Mara is a Bitcoin mining company. Now, the biggest concerns that Mara is currently having is investors are concerned that Mara is burning through a lot of cash. They're saying that they're actually losing more money than they're making. Electricity costs, the fact that now Bitcoin is becoming a lot difficult to go ahead and mine. So a lot of that's eating into the profits. So they actually went ahead and slashed their rating Compass from $25 to downgrading it to $9.50. So I believe they had what is it called? Not announcements. An earnings call. A lot of companies actually had earnings call this week and the last 2 weeks. That is one of the main reasons why we've been seeing a rally in the market, because a lot of companies have been having earnings call these last 2 to 3 weeks. And to go ahead and see this with Marathon Digital, to be completely honest, is not something I was expecting. This analyst says there's way better Bitcoin beta plays than holding on to Mara. Now, I don't know, man. I'm just really concerned the fact that they went ahead and made this article with Mara. I don't hold much of Mara. I'm a little bit more towards Riot. The only reason why I'm kind of positive with Mara and Riot when it comes to stocks. So if any of you guys play with options or are in the stock market, consider taking a look at Riot and Mara. Now, keep in mind this article that we're seeing, but I don't know. This kind of almost motivates me to want to buy more Mara, right? I'm telling you, Mara actually last bull cycle did very, very well. We were to look at the price of what Mara did during the bull cycle as Bitcoin was taking off. And let me actually just pull out that chart just so you could all get an idea. And I know this is a crypto related channel, but one of the main reasons why I'm talking about Mara is because it moves with Bitcoin. It's a company that mines Bitcoin and basically moves with Bitcoin. So we actually go ahead and go back. This is Mara, I believe. Let's see. Was this last bull cycle? Right here. This is Mara last bull cycle. So it was at around $5 to $6, and then it ended up topping at around $83. And that was literally when Bitcoin topped. So Mara and Bitcoin move very similar to one another, and it actually looks very closely to what Bitcoin's chart is looking like right now, right? So that's one of the main reasons why I'm not too concerned about this. I'm actually considering of adding more Mara. Also, the other stock, as I mentioned, that moves with Bitcoin. If you want to have exposure to Bitcoin in the stock market, consider also taking a look at Riot. Riot last bull cycle was also a really good play for myself. If you actually go ahead and take a look at this too, Mara last bull cycle took off at around $4 and ended up topping at around 78. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but Mara was outperforming Riot at the time, and I think Mara was actually higher. I think, if I'm not mistaken, almost close to $100. But they probably went ahead and issued more shares into the market, right? So that is one of the concerns that one of the analysts is now predicting. Of course, a bank. So just keep your eyes out on this. I don't think it's too much of a big deal. I mean, if they're mining Bitcoin and Bitcoin does hit this new all-time high, maybe that could go in their favor, right? So final news. So as I mentioned, Democrats are now looking into Trump and his team and his family overall with what is going on in the market, right? As you see right here, some Democrats, Senate Democrats, are demanding changes to cryptocurrencies pending in Congress, responding partly to growing evidence that Trump's family is using his connections and Trump's power to profit from crypto trading. That is something that everyone has been getting very, very upset about. I don't know. What do you guys think down below? I'm not going to really comment too much, but it does seem very, very fishy with some things going on there. Teresa says she is heading over for Mara. Yeah, check out Mara, check out Riot. Like I said, those were really good beta plays last bull cycle. So that's the only main reason why I'm keeping my eyes on that. Maybe also another stock considered is called Hut8. Hut ticker symbol, also a mining company. This one is actually the company that's going to be running Trump's mining company, and they're going to be owning about 80% of it. So I don't know. For that main reason, I also have a little bit of this. I wasn't really looking into Hut much last bull cycle, but I do remember Hut also being a very good top performer. As you see, right before the market took off, Hut was at $6 and then went ahead and hit as high as $82. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying that this stock's going to do exactly the same thing, but I'm just going based off what I'm seeing, right? It's trends. You have to be able to look for these trends early on, have conviction into what you're doing and what you're investing in, and understand the risk. If it goes in your favor, it could do very, very well. As I mentioned, for me, the only reason why this kind of excites me a little bit is because, for example, I had what are called naked calls for options when I was options trading Riot, and I bought a few contracts for about $200 to $300 a piece. And it is all-time high when Riot and Mara were at those prices. I was selling them for about $8,000 with premium, just one contract. So basically almost like one share for $8,000 because of the premium and because I was deep in the money, right? So not sure if something like that will happen. I do have a little bit of options on Riot. I might consider grabbing some on Hut8 and also Mara. But as I mentioned, these stocks are basically Bitcoin related. So if you want to have some a little bit of a hedge with Bitcoin, and you really believe in Bitcoin, and you think it's going to really outperform this bull cycle, and you want to have that exposure to maybe your Roth IRA, maybe your 401k, whatever the case is, a little bit more of your traditional brokerage account, you can consider these companies and have that exposure to cryptocurrencies, which is one of the main reasons why I'm looking at them. Of course, it's always better to buy physical Bitcoin, but I mean, these are some pretty good returns if you really look at it. I mean, HUT alone right here, this would be a little bit over a 5x return. And if you play with options, it's going to be a lot more. So that's only one of the main reasons why I'm looking at them. I'm just showing you, and I'm just letting you know trends of what I've seen. And that's the whole entire thing when it comes to this space, investing in general, or anything in general, right? Whether it's business, products, services that you're selling, it's all about catching on to trends and being able to notice those when they start to pick up before everyone starts to buy them, right? Because by the time most people start to find out about them, that's usually the time you want to start taking profits. So yeah, keep your eyes out on this. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what is going on with the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is actually looking pretty bullish. The question is, will we be able to find some sort of support? I've kind of talked a little bit about this on last week's stream, that it looks like it could be forming a possible inverse head and shoulders pattern. And for all of you that might not know what an inverse head and shoulders pattern is, it's a bullish reversal pattern, usually signaling that a bottom is in. And it usually looks something like this. Usually the reason why they call it a head and shoulders is because it forms a shoulder, a head, a shoulder, and then usually once it breaks out of the neckline after a downtrend, then that signals that we are now in a reversal. So of course, keep in mind, patterns are not 100%. You never want to just solely rely on patterns or indicators. But I'll tell you that usually the double bottom and the inverse head and shoulder patterns, also the head and shoulders pattern, which is not a bullish, that's actually a bearish. Those are very strong patterns that I've noticed. Sometimes I also see the cup and handle patterns play out very well, but usually inverse head and shoulders patterns and double bottoms are very, very strong signals. But as I mentioned, you do not want to go ahead and rely on just a pattern and assume that we are forming that pattern without actual breakout. But this is another example of usually what it looks like once we start to break out of the neckline. And if you actually go ahead and compare this, like let me go ahead and copy this and put it here. Let's see. Maybe all of you will be able to see the similarity that this chart is also having. Maybe it's just me, just because I'm so used to seeing a lot of these patterns early on and being able to catch on to them. You just have to kind of train your eye to look for these patterns. But if I also go ahead and draw it out for all of you, it would be something like this. Look, it'd be, just to keep it very simple, right? And then the question is, where will the next support be? Will the support be able to catch on right here? The key area we really want to go ahead and see break out for the NASDAQ, and this also shows in Bitcoin, which I'm going to show you right now. I believe Bitcoin's also forming an inverse head and shoulders pattern, is right here at around this $20,000 range. So it looks like we could be forming this pattern. And this is one of the main reasons why I'm a little bit more bullish than I've ever been. I do think we could be seeing a possible little correction, even if we do see the NASDAQ come down a little bit of more selling pressure before we start to see that upside again. But very positive things are looking like are going to happen. And I've also go ahead and show you the chart with Bitcoin. I believe Bitcoin's also forming this inverse head and shoulders pattern, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like it already had its breakout. So there's actually a mini inverse head and shoulders pattern right here. I actually talked about this back around mid-April, how there's a inverse head and shoulders pattern right here forming. So as you see the shoulder, head, and then shoulder, and then the neckline right here, and we see that breakout. So Bitcoin actually already had that breakout with the inverse head and shoulder pattern. And also this could be considered what is called the double bottom pattern, which is also usually a signal of a reversal. And now what I'm looking at, and I think could be forming next, is a cup and handle pattern. So I do think that Bitcoin is could possibly be forming one of these next. So we could be seeing some sort of a little bit of downside, and then maybe we start seeing a little bit more buying pressure to start to take off. But either way, like I said, these patterns first have to go ahead and start forming before, and you have to go ahead and, of course, have a confirmation. But Bitcoin has breaking out of this downtrend. So as you've seen, Bitcoin has been struggling to break out of this downtrend, and finally, we have broken it, which is very, very positive. Now, still, either way, we do not want to go ahead and assume that this is a full-on reversal, just due to the fact that it's a very common procedure too as well to see a fake out. One of the times that we saw a fake out like this was with XRP, I believe. I'll go ahead and show you the chart right here. Or it was Solana a while back. I'll try to show you the chart exactly what a fake out will look like when it's coming out of a downtrend. But usually, just to go ahead and show you what that'll look like, it'll go ahead and break out. It'll look very, very positive, and then next thing you know, it falls. Now, I don't think we will see that with Bitcoin. Worst case scenario for Bitcoin, I think would be $83,000. I don't think we'll even go towards there. But that would be like the worst case scenario, between 83 to 89. Of course, if it falls below these, we'll have a bigger problem. But I don't think we'll be seeing that. As I'm saying, there's actually more positive signs that are being shown in the market right now than bearish. And all of you guys know that I'm pretty transparent, right? I'm a very transparent person. If I think the market's not looking too good, I'm going to tell you. If the market's looking good, I'm going to be honest with you, right? I'm not going to go ahead and tell you what you want to hear, because we do not want to be delusional either, right? We do not want to assume things are looking positive without a confirmation. But things are definitely looking a lot better. As I mentioned, my key area where I'm really going to be celebrating, and all of you should be celebrating as well, is once we see this breakout at around $99,000, because Bitcoin, this is a pretty strong area of resistance. If you go ahead and take a look at this area right here, this whole entire area right here, this whole entire zone is a pretty strong zone where there's a lot of selling pressure. So this is the major area that we need to break. Like this right here at the bottom, I wasn't too concerned. Coming towards where we're at right now, not too concerned. I was more concerned of the question being, are we going to be able to hold? So far, we have been holding almost for about a week around this $90,000 range, which is very, very positive. But we really need to go ahead and break towards that $99,000 range. Once we see that breakout, I think we are definitely a lot closer to entering a new price discovery for Bitcoin. And as I mentioned, once we see this breakout with 109, best believe our next price target is going to be $120,000 Bitcoin. So Bitcoin overall right now is looking very, very positive. As I mentioned, just keep that in mind. I think there's more positive than negative to go ahead and talk about. Let me go ahead and see if I could find that chart that I saw with Solana a while back. This was last bull cycle, I believe. Maybe I could even find a pattern real quick to show you what usually a fake out pattern would look like. Well, I just found one right now. So a fake out pattern that you can see right here for Solana is, but this is not an inverse head and shoulders pattern. This is more of a what is called a double bottom pattern. But as you see right here for Solana, let me go ahead and draw this out for you so you guys could all see. And I really doubt this is going to happen in Bitcoin. I really doubt it. All of you know this because I've been pretty bearish. Like I've been really bearish with the market, like midterm, like since early November. Like if you guys remember, when Tristan and I started hopping onto the podcast, and also Shivam, I was really concerned. I was like, I don't know, like the euphoria in the market kind of concerns me. Like this is just way too bullish. People were talking about Bitcoin reserves and how this was going to moon the market. And I was very concerned at the time. I actually really stopped deploying capital aggressively back in November. I've been deploying capital now a little bit more aggressively because of the signs I've been seeing in the market. But back then, I was very concerned with the market back in November. And this is one of the main reasons why I wasn't aggressively investing into the market. Instead, I was just putting cash to the side, USDC, putting it on stable liquidity pools, because I was very concerned with what I was seeing in the market. I'm not saying that I've called any kind of top or bottom, but what I'm saying is I usually like to go ahead and wait for signs, look around, see if it makes sense. As I mentioned, for all of you that this might be your first bull market that you're approaching, once you go through this, you're going to really understand the signs for the next cycle. But what I'm telling you, usually once that euphoria stage really starts to kick in very heavily and everyone's super positive, that usually signals a top, right? And what I wanted to go ahead and show you right here with Solana before I go off topic, just to go ahead and show you what a fake out looks like, with very similar to what I was showing you right here with Bitcoin once it breaks out of a downtrend. Solana right here, if you go ahead and see this right here, Solana went ahead and broke out of this downtrend. If you want to go ahead and calculate it right here, or even, you can go ahead and call it right here. Let's just call it right here. Solana right here back in November 2024, you see Solana at 250. It comes all the way down. And this was between December 2024. So this is recently. And then we saw the market rally, broke out of this downtrend. And then guess what happened? Fake out. Market dumped. Liquidated everyone, and then they reattempt that push one more time. They pushed it, and unfortunately couldn't go ahead and break past resistance, and then the market dumped. So this is something we always have to go ahead and keep in mind. I don't think this one was so much of a really good example to go ahead and show you. Maybe I could go ahead and try to show you one more time where we saw something very similar. Maybe on XRP, I believe, if I could recall. And like I said, I'm just showing you just so you could all get an idea. I don't think this is going to be the case for Bitcoin. I'm super positive with the market. I think we're getting close. If not, we're near a bottom. We might be at a bottom, which is very, very positive. So if we go ahead and take a look with XRP right here, XRP did one of those moves where it had a fake out. This is a perfect scenario. And I was actually talking about this because I was pretty bullish with XRP at this point. And I believe I was leverage trading XRP, and I ended up closing my long position because I believe Tyler said he was going to go ahead and short it. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and close my position if he's going to short. I'm not going to go against what Tyler is saying. So I went ahead and closed the position. But if you go ahead and take a look at XRP right here, XRP, same thing happened back in January. We do see that XRP was in this downtrend, struggling to go ahead and break past that. And then XRP actually broke through it right here in March. And as we see, XRP went ahead and went to almost $3, $2.99, and then failed, and then got rejected, and then went down even lower, right? So that's one of the main reasons why for Bitcoin, that area is really my concern, is that we could also see a very similar thing if we do not break past this $100,000 range. It's really like $99.99. I would just call it $100,000. We really need to clear that $100,000 psychologically, but just keep that in mind. This is one of the main reasons why I'm not super bullish about this. Like, I'm bullish about the market. I'm just not trying to oversell you a vision or a dream that, the bottom is in and now we're all gonna have this upside momentum and it's gonna moon, right? I'm more positive, but we also have to be aware that really the very, very important area right here to break is this, and this is really gonna make or break it for us. And it doesn't mean that we're going to be bearish. It just means that it's going to be a little bit more prolonged into what's going to happen. If let's say it does get rejected and it can't break $100,000, like, I think worst case scenario, we'll probably see something like this with Bitcoin. It'll probably come back. It'll probably consolidate here for a while, and then probably by Q3, Q4 is once we start seeing the breakout. So Fed meeting is tomorrow. Rate cuts are more than likely not going to happen. Then we're left between June, July, and August, I believe. If we go over to the federalreserve.gov, their website, You could actually, and this is their actual official website. You can actually go ahead and see Fed meeting is tomorrow, and depending, of course, when you're watching this stream, June and then July. And I lied, it wasn't August, it's actually September. So I think it's between Q3, Q4, once we're going to start seeing that those rate cuts start to happen. And that is just based off what the Fed said. The Fed said 2 rate cuts will be happening this year at least. So the year is almost coming to an end. And keep in mind, like, it would make the most sense for them to start implementing rate cuts Q3, Q4, just due to the fact that that's usually one of the busiest times for everyone, right? When it comes to businesses to thrive, the stock market to thrive, they have earnings to go ahead and hit and close the month very, very strong, or the quarter very strong, I would say, the year overall. Retail right now, as we see, is struggling. So rate cuts will definitely go ahead and temporarily pump the market, which is what we need. We need that temporarily spike in the economy. I think right now there's too many people that are fearful with what is going on, which is really pulling back with a lot of people making very aggressive decisions. So that is one of the main reasons why rate cuts right now are very, very important. I was actually listening to a podcast today, and they were saying that a lot of institutions have actually been pulling out, selling their positions, and retail has actually been buying the dip. But retail is also now drying out with money to go ahead and continue to buy the dip. And that's also not a good sign. So retail is running out of liquidity to continue to pump this market, right? So retail has really been buying a dip. They have been really, really positive, and it seems like a lot of institutional buyers have been selling, if not aggressively, because of fears of, the whole entire thing with tariffs and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and see what really happens. But we're at a very, very unique situation, very similar to what we saw during the pandemic last cycle. And as I mentioned, one of the biggest rumors is rate cuts happening to go ahead and refinance the national debt at a lower rate. And that is due, I believe, in July. So that is one of the main rumors why a lot of people believe that we could be seeing rate cuts between June or July, which I also agree. And I think it would make the most sense. I think between, June and October, we're definitely going to get a rate cut. It just depends when that's going to be, of course, right? I'm more leaning between June and July for our first rate cut to happen. And then our second one could possibly be between October. I think October will probably be the next one. So basically saying, I think between Q3, Q4, we can definitely see the market go up aggressively, unless this time is definitely different. And if we do start to see very bullish momentum into the market, we could actually start this rally early on. And I think also Tan mentioned that he also believes there's going to be an upside going into Q3, Q4. So I'm definitely not the only person coming up with this analysis. There's other people in this industry that would agree to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I'm correct. I'm not claiming that I'm right. But there's a lot of people out there that I respect that are also having that kind of vision to what I'm seeing. So I'm kind of going with that narrative. I think Q3, Q4, worst case scenario, like let's say Bitcoin doesn't break past $100,000. The bull run gets delayed for a few more months. And then maybe middle of Q3 is when the market starts to take off. And one of the main reasons why I'm going based off of that is due to the fact what Bitcoin has a tendency to go ahead and do, right? This is not just Bitcoin, this is the overall market. I've shown this multiple times in my office hours and also on stream. But for all of you that might have missed it, or why I'm saying, if you're like, hey, John, why do you think Q3, Q4 is the zone? Because as you see right here, back in July 2021, we started to see a little bit of selling pressure coming in. Then Bitcoin bottom between August and September, which is a very typical thing. Usually entering fall or in the middle of fall is usually where crypto tends to bottom. So we saw that in 2021. We also saw that in 2022. This was one of the biggest ones, 2023. We also saw that in 2024. And are we going to see this in 2025? I do not know. I mean, it's been going on for 4 years straight that it has been doing this. So maybe possibly one more year left. And it'll be following the same exact correlation or pattern, whatever you want to call it, where typically, July sell off, fall, moon. And we saw this, if a lot of you were still here this cycle, a lot of you might have remembered this day. This was literally, if you remember, like early August, where Bitcoin wicked down all the way from $69,000 to like $50,000. This was a liquidity grab. And I think the one that would really go ahead and put you a little bit to shock was SUI. Like SUI at this time, that was literally the bottom of SUI. Like if you look at SUI right here, April 2024, from $2 tanked all the way to like 45 cents, which I was saying that was a high probability back on my office hours when SUI was between this 90 cents zone. I mentioned that we could have been seeing some sort of a downside still coming in, and SUI went ahead, and this is not just SUI, this is the whole entire crypto market, but I'm just saying, like, SUI was one of the tokens that I know that took it very aggressively. If you look at this chart, like, it looks pretty scary. SUI went as low as 40 or 45, 50 cents. And then after what is this exactly, August 8th, we see SUI just take off from there on moving forward. And then that's when SUI actually, and I know a lot of you probably watching the stream did very, very well with SUI. And a lot of you probably remember what I'm talking about this day and the feeling of how the market was. That was a 10x return. And this was a very, very scary time in the market. August was a very scary time. I remember people were in doubt. They were fearful. This was during a time in July where Ethereum got the ETFs. Ethereum went down lower. Like, if we actually go ahead and take a look into Ethereum back in, what was it, July of 2024, I believe. Where was it? Right here, July, right here. This is where Ethereum was when the Ethereum ETFs got announced. And we were all expecting for the market to reverse. And we're like, maybe the Ethereum ETFs is the catalyst to push the market to the upside and have altcoin season, right? So there has been a delay in altcoin season. And everyone has been questioning, are we in altcoin season? Are we going to even have an altcoin season? Is this season mostly Bitcoin dominant? Because we've been seeing Bitcoin having a higher dominance than ever before, or dominance ever before. And I think it's clear because of the ETFs, right? There's more institutional interest into Bitcoin. Also, a lot of people that are just now getting into cryptocurrencies, their first asset is Bitcoin. It makes the most sense. They're not really buying a lot of the altcoins, let alone buying a lot of meme coins, right? But let me actually take that back with meme coins. We have been seeing a lot of retailers trading the most meme coins this cycle than we've ever seen before. Solana is Solana today because of meme coins, due to pump fund, due to a lot of meme coin traders and retail wanting to go ahead and buy meme coins and actually push Solana's price action up, which is also something we've never seen before with Solana. Like, Solana was an underdog last cycle and everyone made fun of Solana. And now look at Solana. It like surpassed a lot of other altcoins. So with Ethereum right here back in July of 2024, around this time where the ETFs got announced, this was the catalyst that we were all waiting for. And guess what happened? It did the opposite. Market dumped. And ever since then, once Ethereum tried to go ahead and rally back up and topped right here back in December at around $4,000, we just have been seeing a decline in ETH. And I always get the questions asked, John, should I continue to hold on to ETH? People are saying that, YouTubers are saying that ETH is a dying dinosaur, that it's never going to come back, that I should probably sell. And as I mentioned, I don't think Ethereum's here to go just yet. Maybe there will be a time in the next couple cycles. Maybe this is next cycle where Ethereum gets fully replaced We are seeing a lot of layer twos and new L1s that have been dominating a little bit more of the space, like Sui. But once again, even with Sui, Sui is nowhere close to what Ethereum and other blockchains are doing. And that is just a fact, right? As I mentioned, if you go to Artemis.xyz, you could go ahead and find this data yourself, select flows, and you can see the flows right here in the last 3 months. Like Sui's all the way over here. But Sui has been a pretty top dominating altcoin this cycle as well, right? They've had over 106.6 million in inflows. And of course, Ethereum still being number one at 12.8. What is that? 18? No, 12.1 billion. So there actually has been a lot of institutions and institutional interest into Ethereum. And as you see right here, with what is Arbitrum? A layer 2 to ETH. What is Base? A layer 2. Barachain, basically almost a layer 2 if you want to call it. And then Sonic is his own blockchain. But as I'm saying, Sonic really just got rebranded recently. And Sonic is already at a 2.4 billion, right? So that's what I'm basically saying, is that I know everyone talks down on Ethereum, doesn't believe in Ethereum. I've been a big believer in not just ETH, but I think specifically the layer 2s, mostly Arbitrum and Base, because that's where a lot of the DeFi opportunities come in. And I think this next cycle that we're going to be seeing, where the market starts to take off, is going to be ETH dominant. So I think there's going to be more interest in ETH. I think a lot of people got destroyed on the Solana meme coins. I'm not saying that Solana won't come back. I think Solana is going to do very well, but I think a lot of those Solana meme coin degens are going to be going into Ethereum or Base, because it's not as scammy. Ethereum is not as scammy as the Solana meme coins, right? Same thing with the Base. Not saying it's not possible. It's every token, as we saw with even the bigger altcoins, there could be basically rug pulls with a lot of these other top altcoins, right? To name a few, like OM. Not saying that was an intentional attack, but it seems very questionable with what happened with OM, right? The CEO could go ahead and deny everything, but some very interesting fishy things going on in the blockchain. And that's what I'm basically saying, that it doesn't really matter too much, but Solana has always kind of been that blockchain where a lot of people buy these meme coins, usually lose money because they're scams. People, scam people on the meme coins on Solana. So that's one of the main reasons why I think we're going to now be seeing, and Solana got super saturated. That's what I'm really also trying to look for, the word saturation. Solana hit a saturation point. Not saying I don't think Solana is going to do well. I think Solana is going to do very well. But as far for the meme coins, I think we're going to start seeing a little bit more strength going into Base. And one of the main reasons, as I mentioned, is because now we have top meme coins such as Brett, Pepe. What is that also? Toshi or Tushi. It's like another dog meme coin that just got listed on Coinbase 2 a few months ago. So Coinbase already has, and I think that was their first meme coin. And I think their second meme coin was KeyCat, which is something that I've been really positive about, right? So there's been a few tokens that I've been really bullish about, and it's mostly been Base. So I'd keep my eyes on Degen. I'd keep my eyes on Brett. I'll keep my eyes on everything and anything that is like ETH related and Base or Base chain. I think that is something that is going to perform very well, in my opinion, this bull cycle. And let's see if I have KeyCat right here. We go ahead and take a look at their chart real quick. It's sitting at a 27 million market cap. Right now, I think ever since it got listed on Coinbase, it did take a hit. I think we probably saw it get listed around this time right here, and then it dumped once again. But this is a major, on the weekly, this is a major head and shoulders pattern, which is a bearish pattern. But usually what happens with head and shoulders patterns is that we see some sort of consolidation usually, or sometimes as we start to see some buying pressure come in, usually what happens is we start to see the chart go like this. And then that's usually when the market reverses. So it also looks like KeyCat could be hitting a bottom very soon, right? So there's a lot of signs that I'm seeing that literally it'll probably take me over an hour. And I'm already almost an hour into this stream. It'll probably take me another additional like 30 minutes to an hour to like walk you through exactly as to why I believe this season in this cycle we might be seeing that ETH dominance pick up, and we could be seeing that shift in meme coins. And it's just something that I've been noticing and I've been watching very closely for the past year. And I think now we're starting to see the layer twos get that recognition that we didn't have last year. Last year was Solana. And no one really cared about ETH tokens because of how expensive the gas fees were. And of course, for meme coin traders, that's no benefit. And that's when the layer twos came out and really started to change DeFi overall, right? So I think Base, for all of you that might not know, Base is Coinbase's blockchain. I believe that Coinbase is going to do whatever it takes to go ahead and push and promote their own blockchain, right? Coinbase has made it clear that they want to go ahead and make it very easy for retail to onboard into DeFi and utilize these tools in a very simple, easy way. And for that reason, I believe that a lot of the layer twos are going to do very, very well. And that's why I'm a big believer in Ethereum overall. The Ethereum-based tokens such as Aerodrome. I know Aerodrome has retraced a lot, and I know it's a very, very scary chart to also look at. But unfortunately, the way this market moves, it's really all about really believing in what you see. And sometimes you really don't see it until it happens. And that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people, instead of making money in crypto, they lose it because they usually buy at the tops. Like most people are not buying right here. And this should be you and I, right? We should be the ones buying these bottoms. But unfortunately, we never know when the bottom is actually in. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, I buy every bottom. I don't. But I do recognize that when there's a lot of fear in the market, that is usually a good time to start buying a little bit. Because by the time it goes here, this is where a lot of people buy and why they start to lose money. Because as the asset starts to go up, a lot of news start to talk about it, publications start to get pushed, marketing starts to get pushed, and that usually is the top or the temporary top for that asset. So right now, Aerodrome still has a long ways to go. The key area for Aerodrome that it has to break is around this 84 cents to really start to see this this breakout of this downtrend. It looks like it has already broken out of this downtrend. But once again, as I mentioned, we could actually even ignore the top and we could just go like this. We actually could go ahead and see that Aerodrome has already broken out of this downtrend. But as I mentioned, just for a confirmation, you always want to have a confirmation. If you want to play this a little bit safer, not just guess, a confirmation for an ultimate reversal for Aerodrome would be this breakout at around 80 cents. So you could either take on the risk and buy right now, or you could go ahead and wait for this 80-cent breakout and then start buying. And really, it just depends all to risk and reward. How's it going, David? Good stuff, David is saying. I really appreciate you, David. Thank you for being here. But yeah, that's one of the biggest things. So confirmation is big. And I would highly recommend all of you, if you do not know what TradingView is a platform where you can go ahead and look at these charts. You do not have to be a technical analyst, but one of the biggest indicators that I personally like and I've been using for a long time, like this one right here that shows these red rectangles and blue, the indicator is called, if you click right here, indicators, and you search it, it's called Smart Money Concepts, SMC by Lux Algo. It has over 66,000 users that are using this indicator. This indicator right here, if I was to delete everything I have right here in the charts, it shows where mostly smart money is buying. That's what the smart money indicator is supposed to be. SMC is supposed to be where smart money is buying and where smart money is selling. So as you see right here, when it shows blue is usually where smart money is buying. And then when it shows red is usually where smart money is buying. Now, because I've been looking at charts for a very long time, I know where to spot resistance and supports very, very quickly. But of course, that's because I've trained my eyes, right? But for all of you that might not be familiar, you do not have to know any of what I just mentioned. All you really have to know is how to put this indicator on TradingView, and that's it. That's really all you have to do. You could almost pull out any chart. And as I mentioned, you do not want to just rely on indicators. There's a lot of indicators. That's just the only one that I personally use. But if I was to go ahead and show you, let's say, maybe Say has a good chart. I don't know what Say looks like, but Say, another one right here. So as you see right here for Say 2 is also showing that this is where smart money is buying. Smart money is buying between 15 cents to as 19 cents. So between this zone, this is where smart money is buying. And then usually this is where smart money is selling, which usually indicates a resistance, which is a selling point. Usually a lot of selling pressure coming in, right? Hopefully that is not too confusing, but hopefully a lot of you leave with some gold. And as I mentioned, just you understanding this simple indicator could definitely change your whole entire perspective when it comes to the markets. And you're already way far ahead than most people. And with that being said, keep in mind tomorrow's a Fed meeting. Let's go ahead and keep our eyes close to that. But one of the biggest things I also wanted to go ahead and announce, we are partnered with Coin Tracker, which is a crypto tax software that you can go ahead and plug all your wallets, and it makes it very easy to go ahead and track for crypto solutions. If you are interested, go ahead and check them out. It's cointracker.io, and we actually do have a code just for all of you. Type in DM10 to go ahead and get 10% off on checkout. That is DM10, D as in David, M as in Mary, 10, the number 10, to go ahead and get a 10% discount. With that being said, let's go ahead and keep our eyes closely into the market for tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a big day. Hopefully good news are going to happen. Maybe we get the surprise that rate cuts do happen. And I think if that was to happen, maybe the market just bull run starts once again. I mean, we're in a bull run, but bullish momentum begins again, right? With that being said, I hope all of you have a great rest of your day. Go ahead and be prepared for tomorrow. Don't make aggressive decisions in regards to the market because of the Fed meeting. I would wait, see what happens. And I'll see all of you on Thursday with Tristan. Tristan's going to be there with me. So Tristan has a lot of good stuff to share with us. I'll go ahead and see all of you guys on Thursday. I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, if you are interested into checking out our platform, links down below in the description. You can also check out our free mastermind group where we can go ahead and show you a lot of this. With that being said, I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all on Thursday. Take care.